stranger to this podium. I've come up here and...
Dedication for that day.
John Borman, who was an Irish...
You 47?
Yeah.
They don't...
The 7 most racist guests Johnny Carson ever had on his show. For 30 years, Johnny Carson was the total king of late-night TV. He had the biggest stars come sit on his couch and chat like they were just hanging out at home, all because of his cool charm and super-fast jokes. From his desk at NBC, Carson made a show that everyone in America watched and loved. It was the one place where famous people relaxed and showed who they really were. But sometimes when they relaxed too much, they said stuff that showed they had some pretty ugly thoughts about race. Especially while America was slowly starting to say, hey, racism is bad. The Tonight Show was long and chill, so sometimes the guests' old racist ideas slipped out, stuff that got hidden on other shows. Johnny was stuck between old Hollywood stars who grew up thinking racist jokes were totally normal, and a new America that was saying those jokes weren't okay anymore. A guy who used to work at NBC said Johnny had to be nice to the old legends, who made racist jokes all the time back in the day. But he also had to deal with America waking up and realizing that stuff was hurtful. It made things super awkward on air sometimes. Johnny himself was pretty open-minded for his time, but still kinda old school compared to today. One TV history lady said Johnny couldn't just kick every racist star off the show. That would have gotten rid of half the big names in the 60s and 70s. You can see in old clips that as years went by, Johnny started looking more and more uncomfortable with some guests. Today we're going to talk about 7 of the most racist guests he ever had. Big legends whose visits showed the ugly side they usually kept hidden. Number 1. John Wayne. America's cowboy, John Wayne. Nobody looked more American than John Wayne. Tough guy, loved the country, always played the hero who did the right thing. He was on Carson's show a bunch, and Johnny always treated him like a total legend. But off-screen, Wayne had some seriously racist ideas that shocked people. In a 1971 Playboy interview, he straight up said, "I believe in white supremacy until black people are educated enough to be responsible." Yeah, he really said that. He also said Native Americans were selfish for not giving their land to white people, and acted like racism in Hollywood wasn't a real thing. After that interview came out, Johnny still had to interview him a bunch of times. You can totally see in the old clips that Johnny got colder with Wayne after that. He stayed polite, but the big smiles and easy laughs were gone. The vibe got super stiff. One TV historian said the last few interviews were icy. You could feel Johnny didn't want to be buddies anymore. He never fought Wayne on air, that wasn't Johnny's style with old legends, but the warmth was just gone. Wayne played fair heroes on screen but was openly white supremacist in real life. Johnny couldn't fix that huge contradiction. He just kept a little distance and let the audience feel the awkwardness. Number 2. Bob Hope. The comedy legend, Bob Hope. Bob Hope was the old-school, funny grandpa who did shows for soldiers, and everyone loved him forever. He came from the days of blackface and racist accents, and that stuff was normal back then. He did tons of racist jokes and blackface when he was younger. Even when everyone else started saying, "Dude, stop," Hope kept defending it and saying people were too sensitive. All the way into the 70s and 80s, he still dropped racist jokes on Carson's show sometimes. Johnny would just give a tight, fake smile and change the subject super fast. Johnny really looked up to Hope, so he never called him out hard, but you could tell those jokes made him cringe. He loved the guy, but knew the old racist stuff wasn't funny anymore. Hope thought people calling out racism were just killing comedy. Johnny stayed stuck in the middle, respecting the legend but hating parts of the act. Number 3. Charlton Heston. The Hollywood conservative Charlton Heston. This dude played Moses and huge heroes, had that deep epic voice. Total movie star. But later he got super political and became head of the NRA. He started saying stuff like civil rights, people were just whiners, and racism was basically over. He acted like systemic racism wasn't real anymore. Johnny knew Heston loved going on political rants, so he told his writers to keep everything light and movie talk only so Heston wouldn't start talking race stuff on air. Backstage, Heston apparently trash-talked civil rights leaders and made racist comments. The staff heard it and got worried, but it never came out on the show. Johnny played Moses, but treated half the people like they were still slaves. That's how weird the difference was between his movie roles and real opinions. Number 4. Don Rickles. The insult comic. Don Rickles. Rickles' whole thing was roasting everybody super hard, but that was his brand. But a lot of his jokes used straight-up racial slurs and stereotypes. He called Sammy Davis Jr. a spear chucker right on stage once. He used the N-word and tons of other awful stuff, but somehow people let him get away with it because that's just Rickles. Johnny was actually good friends with him and loved his comedy, but even he had limits. One staff member said Johnny once told producers, "If he says that word again, cut to commercial." Johnny gave Rickles more freedom than anyone else, but still drew lines. People still argue today if Rickles was racist or just equal opportunity mean. A lot say even if he roasted everyone, he punched down way more at black, Asian, and Jewish people than at powerful white guys. Number 5. Burt Reynolds. The charming rogue. Burt Reynolds. Total 70s-80s heartthrob. Super smooth Southern guy, always joking around with Johnny like best buddies. But sometimes his old Southern racist jokes slip. Ed out. In 1978, he did a whole bit making fun of Native Americans, and people got so mad. Hundreds wrote actual letters, complaining. Johnny actually pulled that whole segment so it never played in reruns again. That was a big deal back then. Burt wasn't racist all the time. It was more like random dumb moments from how he grew up. Still shocked people because he seemed so cool and chill otherwise. He was everyone's crush until he opened his mouth and said something gross. Number 6. Red Skelton. The comedy veteran. Red Skelton, old school clown, did blackface back in the day like it was totally normal. Johnny grew up watching him and respected him a ton. Even in the 70s and 80s, Red still defended blackface and got mad at networks for not letting him do racist stuff anymore. He complained about it right on the show sometimes. Johnny would just nod a tiny bit and quickly change the subject to something safe. The audience stopped laughing at the old racist bits way before Red noticed. Johnny loved the guy's legacy, but you could feel the room get cold when Red started defending blackface. Number 7. Buddy Hackett. The unapologetic throwback, Buddy Hackett. Funny face, dirty jokes, old Vegas style. And he never stopped doing racist jokes, even when everyone else quit. He kept using World War II-era slurs into the 70s like nothing changed. After one Superbad segment that got tons of complaints, Johnny straight up banned that routine forever. Buddy just refused to update his act. He belonged to a different time and wouldn't leave it. That's literally what people said about him. Johnny kept him on the show, but put harder and harder rules on what he could say. Johnny Carson had to deal with all these legends who had racist baggage for 30 whole years. He never totally fixed the problem. He just slowly got stricter, pulled bad clips, changed topics, and kept a little distant. See. It shows how America was super slow and messy about waking up to racism on TV. The show wasn't perfect, but you can see Johnny trying to do better bit by bit while still keeping the old